Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Pig-Headed and Well-Read. Today's episode covers chapters 7 through 9. I'm your host, Nathan Skidmore, here with my co-host, Ethan Rowley. This is a spoiler-free pod, so we will only be discussing things that happen through chapter 9 in East of Eden. We'll be releasing episodes every Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our YouTube channel, and each episode will cover roughly 50 pages of East of Eden. You can also follow us on social media. If you're reading along with us and you have your own insights, comments, jokes, or corrections, feel free to email us at pigheadedandwellread@gmail.com. Quick content warning before we get started. Due to the nature of East of Eden's story, throughout this read-along, we'll be touching on some mature and complex themes, including but not limited to violence, abuse, suicide, alcoholism, racism, war, death, and sex work. If these topics are difficult for you, please listen with care. Ethan, what are you looking forward to most getting into today?
It has to be the introduction to one of the main characters, Kathy Ames, and just the setup for her background, and then we can start to see and guess at how she'll weave her way into the plot and the storyline of the other characters. So it's going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah, no, that will be a good one. Well, without further ado, let's kick it back to our past selves and listen in.
Okay. Three sentences. You're gonna marvel at how concise I'm about to be.
Okay.
Um, Adam leaves the army, crosses the United States painfully, and rejoins Charles and discusses their dead father. We're introduced to Kathy Ames, and we get to know her character and all the horrible stuff she did growing up. And then last sentence here. Kathy, after leaving her home, meets up with the whorehouse guy that we have heard about before in passing, does some trickery, but then gets tricked back and beaten mercilessly.
Those are the best three-sentence summary I think I could have asked for there.
You want to just stop the pod? You want to
Yeah,
just
I think we're good.
call
All
it?
right, we'll
Just
see
a
you next
quick
week.
one. Mhm.
Okay, right on. We'll see if we can elaborate that a little bit. I've got odd chapters. Nate has even. So chapter 7, getting right into it. As Nate had said so beautifully in his three-sentence summary, Adam spends 5 years in the military after his reenlistment, not really doing anything at all. And because he's doing nothing, time is absolutely flying. And I just want to start reading that one quote because this feels like Steinbeck inserting himself again into just some of his own thoughts. But on page 54, or the very second paragraph of chapter 7, time interval is a strange and contradictory matter in the mind. It would be reasonable to suppose that a routine time or an eventless time would seem interminable. It should be so, but it is not. It is the dull, eventless times that have no duration whatever. A time splashed with interest, wounded with tragedy, crevice with joy. That's the time that seems long in the memory. And this is right when you think about it. Eventlessness has no post to drape duration on. From nothing to nothing is no time at all. And I reread that many times, just really like it, that perception and memory of time depend on these markers, on these peaks and valleys, something to hang the curtains on. If you're spending time in a boring meeting, if it's just a quiet afternoon doing nothing, it could feel long in the moment, but you look back and it felt like nothing happened at all. So I think it's this idea that Steinbeck's hitting, that we approach and construct time retrospectively through memories. So maybe that could be something that comes up in the future, but that kind of seems like what's going on with Adam here.
Yeah, I also sorry.
No, yeah.
I also circled that, especially the eventlessness. Great word. Lots of E's, S's, and N's just
Hmm.
scattered around. Eventlessness has no post to drape duration on. I just thought it was
Such a good
relatable.
visual.
I feel
Yeah.
like um I feel like there are certain years of my life that feel like were longer years, and then sometimes it goes a lot fast. I haven't had anything quite as boring as what the Steinbeck describes Adam going through, where it's like the main highlight is like polishing his gun and then
Yeah.
almost fighting. So nothing's gone by quite that fast. But like I feel like the first 2 years of college before COVID, those are like 5 years each.
Hmm.
Um, you know, yeah.
So his 5 years of Charles reenlistment comes up, and he writes his brother saying he's coming home. And that was a psych moment. He is not coming home. He does not go home. Charles doesn't hear anything from him for 3 years. So it's been 5 years in the military, 5 years reenlistment, 3 years. So 8 years of nothing after just really regular letters going back and forth. And he eventually gets
Trying to keep track.
discharged.
How old is he at this point? Did he go into the military at 18?
Yeah, so I was thinking he's got to be like mid to late 20s here.
Well, because if he went in at 18, 5 years in, 23, 5 years again, he's 28. So he's 28 when he gets out, if he didn't go in early.
Yeah,
The last we hear is that he's 16 and Charles was 15, but we don't know if that's when he went into the military. He's kind of a funky with time.
yeah.
Um, so I
I think
kind of
yeah, I think it's
thought
good to
like,
assume 16 to 18 is when he went in.
so he's yeah, I think you're right. Somewhere late 20s, maybe 30.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we're somewhere in the 1890s, and it was really funny to me that John Steinbeck calls this decade the 90s, because for me the 90s is the 1990s. So it really kind of dates the book in a fun way.
Yeah.
But he gets discharged in San Francisco and just starts wandering around with other wandering men. And what stood out to me here is that he's doing what Charles said in his wild pencil letter that he should be doing. Charles was like, I should be wandering as maybe some sort of punishment. And here it feels like Adam is taking Charles's punishment on his behalf, even though he's taking pleasure in this wandering. And I guess wandering was a really big thing in the 90s, the 1890s. He just kind of wanders his way with all these other men through the southwestern states to Texas. He's getting super tan. He's learning some Espanol. And over
hmm
time, his voice picks up so many of the accents that he is exposed to, that his own accent just doesn't sound foreign no matter where he is. He is able to blend into all of his surroundings. And so it's kind of this outward indication of how he's of him blending into his surroundings with his voice blending in, and now he's able to kind of suppress himself and just almost become this invisible person on the wall with everything that he does. Uh, Interestingly enough, vagrancy is at its peak, but it's a punishable offense. And so he's picked up to join a road gang somewhere in Florida for 6 months, gets released, picked up right back again. So 12 months he's spending on this road gang. And it's pretty brutal on this road gang. He's really good at showing no emotion or pity or anger or interest, even watching other men get whipped within inches of their lives. So he's just, I don't know, what do you think? He doesn't feel like he has much of a backbone here, or maybe he's doing it he just knows it's how to protect himself.
Yeah, I think some of the training from how he grew up kind of steeps in here where he recognizes what he's going to have to do to survive, and not step out of line and not, it describes him removing the expression from his voice, from his face, removing the light from his eyes,
Hmm.
silencing his speech, and so like just making himself as inconspicuous as possible and quite intentionally, uh, to survive. But one thing I thought was interesting, um, about this little time in Adam's life, he called himself a bindle stiff, which maybe a
Hmm.
term that was highly used at some point. And I was reading this, and I was kind of a little bit put off that like he would leave the military and go straight to being, a vagabond, because you would assume he's getting paid for being in the military and not spending very much money, because I'm pretty sure they take care of your room and board while you're
Hmm.
while you're in a battalion. So I was like, he probably had some savings, right? But then it's talking about him like learning to beg for food. So I was like, maybe not. Maybe you don't get paid very well at all. And I
Yeah.
and I kind of caught myself thinking like, wow, this is so sad that this would happen. And it kind of occurred to me like this still happens quite a lot actually. People come home from the military and then you see them on the streets with their veterans hats, and they're treated very poorly, and they're not taken care of by the country that they fought for or enlisted for, and um, sad to think about. And then also just the idea, like you kind of mentioned, that vagrancy was in, and again, similarly, I was like, wow, like that's crazy that it used to be like that. And then I remembered, like I was in Austin last year, and
Hmm.
I was in like a gas station, and the person in line behind me was talking about like, yeah, like I was at this homeless camp over here for a couple years, but recently I moved over to this other camp. They've got better leadership. And it's like, I was like, leadership? And I was just kind of listening to him talk to the
Huh.
other person. The person was like, I've been thinking about becoming homeless. And like, I think there's always kind of an underground little, like the way it describes his little community of hobos and vagabonds. I think that's still kind of happening. There's still
Yeah.
odd pockets of people that are just kind of drifting around without any responsibilities, and enjoying it, and even like have the ability to pass themselves off as like, yeah, I'm pretty normal. Like these people were in a gas station with me, like buying
Hmm.
peanut M&Ms, looking very
Considering
normal.
becoming homeless.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, one of them was, and one of them was just thinking about it, and they were friends. And the guy was like, yeah, I moved, I switched camps. I like the leadership comment. I was like, you like the leadership at the homeless camp? And it's like, um, I don't think that's happening everywhere. I think Austin's got some unique things
Keep
going on,
Austin
but
weird.
it's weird. But yeah,
Yeah.
so just some thoughts that,
Yeah.
the more things change, the more they stay the same. Here in America.
True that.
So anyway, you
Yeah. And one thing
proceed.
that stood out to me too was uh, in the military, he's very adamant about standing out and not conforming. And then here is where he's totally fine. Maybe not. He stands out in his own way by conforming so well, I think,
Hmm.
with these people. And so he's kind of like getting the portion of life that Cyrus wanted so badly for him, but just not in the military, of descending to his lowest low and then coming out a different man. So kind of ironic.
That's kind of interesting. I didn't think about that at all, and that's probably way more relevant to the book than what I was thinking about. But like, he did do what Cyrus wanted. Like he did
Yeah.
end up disciplining himself and 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 learning how to take care of himself.
Yeah.
Just it had to be in prison, I guess.
Yep. Had to be in prison. Let's see here. Yeah, so he gets these perks in this road gang, and one of them is being able to go out and fetch water from the creek. And 3 days before his scheduled release, he escapes while fetching this water from the stream that he's supposed to go bring back. And his ability that he's learned over the past 11 months and 3 weeks helps him escape because he's so lethargic that he doesn't make any mistakes that other people would make when they escape, which is being in a hurry.
Hmm.
So he's able to escape pretty much unseen really easily. Dogs don't pick him up. And I thought it was really interesting to wait 3 days before escaping. And the only reason I could think that he would do this is because he knew that if he got let out naturally, he would just get picked up again and just he'd be doomed to the cycle of the road gang. What did you think, Nate?
I thought that too, because I was like, why did he escape 3 days before being let out? Like that's a weird thing to have done. But I do think that, and it's interesting that Steinbeck doesn't like spoon feed you these answers. Like
Yeah.
he never says like Adam puzzled it out and figured out that he like they were gonna capture him again. But like that is kind of the conclusion that I arrived at, was that after he had served 6 months, been let out, and then been picked up again, I think he kind of caught on that that was their game. That
Hmm.
that's how they just kind of keep people in the cycle of this slave labor that they have kind of worked out,
Totally.
picking up vagabonds, making them work on the roads. Um, and so he devised this plan. Interesting also that we don't get hardly any information on like him planning that out. Like there's not
Hmm.
like there's no part where like he notices there's no security by the river, or him
Yeah.
like looking at the dog. It's just like, and then he left. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, Adam's out. Like
Yeah, he learns
so
that you can pad yourself with mud so the dogs can't sniff you. It would have been fun to see if he was like testing that out.
testing that, like he was, yeah, yeah. I don't know, but I
But
arrived at the same
again, it's
conclusion
like,
though.
what's the worst thing that could happen? Another 6 months. But this time he might not get
He's
the nice
clearly good at
perks.
it, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So he escapes and is able to, he like gets through the scene where he even waits for the perfect day where it's raining so that he's not seen super well when he enters the train station. And then scene break, we're now with Charles back on the Trask farm. And here we get a date, 1894. And he's hand delivered a letter, something that's so rare that the guy who delivered it waits around to get the
I did
information
think
from the letter too.
that was a funny thing where the guy's like, "Hey, I delivered it. I get to hear what's in there." It's
Yep.
like, I would have been like, "No."
Yeah. So this letter is
Charles.
five pages long. Two main things. Big one, Cyrus is dead.
Hmm.
The bigger one is that he left 103 grand for his sons to share equally. Inflation calculator time, probably my third most visited website, $4.3 million today.
That's
Good
good
size of
research.
coin. Good size
Mm,
of coin.
not bad.
Um,
Not bad, Mr. Trask.
yeah, and after he reads it a few times, he his first thoughts are wanting Adam home. So maybe after 8 years or so, he's buried the hatchet. Pun intended.
Yeah, yeah. Honesty here. It's so interesting because okay, when did I underline this? So he does. I don't know how far you want me to skip ahead, but like he does get that telegraph from Adam a little while after he gets this
Yeah, you can talk. You can talk
letter.
about anything up through 9. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Um, and then he talks to the guy. He's like, "Yeah, how do I send money?" And it's funny they talk about it. I wouldn't have known that. I don't know anything about telegrams.
Hmm.
Um, but they're like, "Yeah, you just have to have a password. You just have to have like a code so that the person giving the money knows it's him."
So you're
And
not
he
being scammed.
still asks about the birthday
Yeah.
gift. And I was like, if I was Adam and he sent me the money and that was the code, I would have been like, I can't go home. Like
Back to the road gang for me.
this guy's a maniac. He's going. He can't even pretend he's not obsessed with this birthday gift. Like,
Yep.
like chill out.
Yeah.
So.
Get
I thought
over
that was
it.
funny. Yeah,
Yeah, that
he's
was
like,
that
"What
was
did you get?
exactly
What
my.
did you get Dad for his birthday?" And Adam's got to be like, "Oh my gosh! Like, I've literally traveled across America and been in the army for a decade, and you're still mad about this stupid dog."
Yeah,
Um, but it must not have bothered Adam because he comes home, right? So
he's
anyway, you
cool
can
with
go
it.
ahead. Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
"Whatever, man."
yeah. That was my next point too, because yeah, I was thinking, man, has he finally gotten over this knife thing? He has not. He definitely
No,
100% has not.
not even close.
So Adam asked for $100 to get home, $4,100 today. Again, a sizable amount of money he's asking
That
for to
is
get
not
home.
nothing. I
Yeah,
forget about these big inflationary numbers. I was like, yeah, Franklin. Franklin to get your
yeah.
brother home, no big deal.
4,100 seems like a lot,
$4,100. I'm not saying, well, maybe if I had just been given $4 million,
but he
I
doesn't know
wouldn't feel
that
too.
here. Adam does not know about the
Adam
4
doesn't know
million.
that, but Charles knows that. Charles knows.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, you're right. That's a lot of money to ask for via telegram.
yeah. It's a good
Um,
thing. Good thing he had the question for him, so he didn't get
yeah.
scammed. And so Adam finally meets up with Charles, and Charles is the first thing he says is, "You don't look prosperous." Like Charles has been thinking he was out making money the past 8 years. Negative. He looks like a hobo. I think that's one thing. He's like, "You were a hobo?" Yeah. He's like, "Where have you been? Just wandering around like a hobo." So pretty funny.
That is the exact exchange right there. Yeah, no, it's a funny exchange when they first meet each other. It's like and like the second like Adam does like tell him where he's been and then the first thing he does is like your scar looks awful. I was like this guy
Yeah.
tried to kill you. Like you're going to leave with
Yeah.
your scar. Your, that's
Yeah.
ugly.
Well, I remember last episode we had talked about him meeting the bartender who had a scar, and the bartender was like, "Hey man, how do I get you out of here? You're talking my ear off."
Hmm.
And Adam brings that up to Charles, which for me was like another way of like, "Okay, these two are really brothers. Charles can't get over the knife, and Adam still feels minorly insulted by this bartender that wanted him to leave."
who also had the scar or birthmark.
He's like still mad at this bartender who was like, "Ah, get out of my bar."
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, it must have been a huge moment for him because he did nothing for the better part of 6 years.
8 years later, he's like, "There's this bartender once."
Yeah, so they kind of
That's
have a
good.
little back and forth, and you can tell that Charles is beating around the bush. He's really not alluding to the fortune, but Adam is picking up that he's really not afraid of Charles anymore during this
Hmm.
time. So I think that's why he's so bold to him and telling about the scar. He might be trying to feel him out, but I really don't think that he's scared of him at all. Maybe Charles has gotten a little tubbier and a little bit more soft, but
Yeah, I considered that as well, just because like it describes Adam as being very thin, and like when they were young men, it described Charles as being an athlete and being muscly,
mhm,
and it hasn't described Charles in a while, and it's been 13 years since they last described him as athletic.
yeah,
So, but maybe it's not so much a build thing. It's just like Adam's just had so much experience. He's been in battles. He's killed people.
mhm,
He's been in prison. So he's just not that worried about this one guy.
yeah.
Um,
Adam is a
who's
hardened, softened man.
yeah, a hardened, soft man. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it.
And one
Um,
thing too, that Adam has a little more information about Cyrus's death. So he knew that Cyrus was dead, but doesn't know about the fortune. And
mhm.
it's just this more salt in the wound for Charles. Um, oh no, I guess that comes later. Charles knows this part, but Adam knows that the vice president was at Cyrus's funeral, and the president set him a wreath.
Mhm.
So important dude.
Yeah.
And so once Charles finally gets around to wanting to come clean after Adam kind of pressures him and saying, "Dude, tell me what's on your mind," Charles answers his question with another question: "Did you love Dad?" Outright, Adam's like, "I hated that guy," and Charles just cannot understand how Cyrus loved Adam so much, despite it being so clear that Adam didn't love him at all. He brings the knife up again. It's like the third
He's
time this
back on
chapter
the
has been.
knife. It's
He
like,
just cannot get over the knife.
he's
And
like
this is
he's like
this
the
is
knife is in the house, and I was like, you should throw that
yeah.
knife away. It bothers you way too much. You got to
The
get over
knife has
this.
been glimmering at him as he tries to go to bed every night.
It's
Just
speaking to him like the Green Goblin mask.
the knife is the
It's
Green
over
Goblin
there
mask.
whispering to him.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
he's
the
he's
knife
gonna
and
try to
then
kill Adam with that knife.
the knife is stuck with Charles, and the dog was with Cyrus in DC, and they shot the
They
dog
shot the dog. That
right
was
after
good too.
Cyrus died.
That was such a funny detail where it's like your stupid dog was at the funeral. They
Yeah,
shot it, by the way. Like,
Steinbeck is
oh,
hilarious with just these little unnecessary pieces of information about these characters.
that's
That's where his
interesting. What do
humor
you?
really shines, I think.
It's like they would have been an old dog. Would have been a good 15-year-old dog at the
Yeah,
funeral.
yeah.
So
So Charles breaks down crying, and we learn here that Adam actually still might be a little bit scared of Charles because he wants to go reach out and comfort him, but does not because he doesn't want Charles to actually kill him. Maybe it's the knife being brought up 3 times back to back to back that he realizes this guy could freak out at any moment.
yeah,
Um,
he's like this guy unstable.
he makes kind of a bad move and tries to talk about Alice, which I didn't think is great. Like, hey, maybe we should talk about your dead mom. But Charles shrugs it off and gets to the meat of the matter with another question. He really wants to know what Adam thinks about this stuff before coming clean. And he asks, "Do you think that Dad was dishonest?" And Adam's like, "Dude, what are you getting at?" And Charles finally spills the beans about the fortune. Adam wants to believe that Cyrus just hit it big somehow through just good business. He knows powerful people. Charles thinks, oh, Charles knows that Cyrus's discharge papers came in, so he has even more information, and he knows that Cyrus was lying the whole time about his war battles and his war victories and his war stories. And this is like Charles' life is just crashing down, and he's
Hmm.
thinking, how could our dad have gotten away with this? And even having dinner, they talk about it more, but then they kind of just get away from it after a while, and so kind of start just beating around the bush. But one thing that was really interesting to me is it's noted here that Adam is a little bit happy when he's telling him this. Like there's a little bit of joy in him. And I thought this was such an interesting contrast to how he was able to suppress his emotions watching his community members in the road gang get whipped. But then when he knows that it's true that Cyrus was possibly fibbing the whole time and that Charles is so distraught about it, he's not able to suppress a little bit of joy. So this is like a really strong emotion for him, it seems like, kind of watching this all unfold.
Yeah, it's a really interesting kind of whole conversation that they have where Charles is kind of very well, not kind of, he's very, very upset to find that his father had been lying all that time, and it
Yeah.
doesn't bother Adam at all. Um, and you would think that it's because Adam, like it mentions that, in like chapter two, no, was it three? Chapter three. That Adam kind of from a younger age kind of snapped out of it and realized that Cyrus was lying. I guess it doesn't say that he figured out an exact lie. I think he just kind of got a
Hmm.
vibe. Would you say that's accurate, or do you feel
I,
like
th-
he caught him
I
in
really,
something?
I think so. I think that it was just kind of like our dad is a man and he's telling some tales. But I think you're right. I
Hmm.
don't think that it was like exact. And I think we'll talk a little later about maybe stories versus lies in the passage with Kathy. But I think it's kind of like
Yeah,
with Cyrus here,
yeah,
stories or lies.
yeah. And so it's interesting, so I'm assuming he's feeling some form of like vindication that like he probably felt like I'm the only one that can tell, especially when he sees that his dad's like super wealthy and like intermingling with the president. He's like, am I the only person that can see that this guy's a total fraud?
Hmm.
And so it must be of some comfort that now his brother, who's super annoying, um, and worshipped their dad their whole lives, like is also realized like dad was a liar, he was a fraud. Um, and so yeah, so I can totally understand where this joy is coming from. He's like
Hmm.
vindication, like
Yeah.
like
At last.
yeah. But then it does take an interesting turn, and I'll let you kind of go through it. But where Charles kind of like goes even further than Adam, and like Charles like is like suspicious of everything their dad ever did,
Hmm.
and like wants to question the fortune, and Adam's just kind of okay with it. But
Yeah.
I'll kick it back to you. This is your chapter. So.
Yeah. No. So Adam gets asked by Charles if they should just go to the inn to get laid. They only charge a buck, $41 in today's money, and they're rich now.
Mm,
And he
they are
brings up again
rich.
the idea that they change the girls out every week. Adam doesn't outright say no, but he's not very into this idea. Um, and Adam just says, let's just sleep on this idea of dad and the money. Charles forces a conversation because he really does think that Cyrus stole the money, like you were saying, Nate. His logic is if Cyrus could lie about the war, then he would have no problem stealing, which I think that logic is pretty sound.
Hmm.
And I think that Adam believes that Charles could just be fronting a little bit, maybe playing up some virtue or integrity, because he asks, well, we can just go tell Washington what we think, and we can give the money back, kind of like trying to call his bluff.
Yeah, like
And and Charles smartly like counters and says, it's not about the money. It's never been about the money. The whole idea is
it's not
that
always
our
about the
dad's
money, Spider-Man.
reputation, yeah, our
Yeah.
dad's reputation will get completely soured, and we don't want to sour his entire reputation. So I think they're just both in this weird back and forth, almost like I love dad most, or I respect him most. We want to keep this money, but we don't want to outright accept it. Process of healing. It's really interesting to see how they're processing all their emotions. And in a wild turn of events, that we'll get to more in depth in my takeaway later. Adam says that he does believe their dad's war stories and that he did not steal the money. He believes Cyrus and he confesses that he actually believes his father did in the wars what he says he did. And the
Hmm.
chapter ends with Adam realizing that Charles was fighting for his dad's love that night with the hatchet. And he straight up tells him this and then proposes, floats out the idea we could just move to California with all that money. And that's how it ends.
Um, I will say about that conversation, like I feel like some of it comes down to like Charles kind of built his whole identity off of being his father's son.
Yeah.
Uh, and so like that's why the notion that his dad was lying is so hurtful to him, because it not only destroys who his father was, it kind of destroys who he is. Like his whole thing is like,
Good point.
I'm always trying to earn my father's love. Um, Always trying to, do the right thing, get his attention, and then like, oh, this man was a fraud. Like everything I was trying to do my whole life was fraudulent and not what
Hmm.
I thought it was. I do think it's interesting that he like immediately like jumps to like wanting to not return the money, but wanting to be like, Dad got this money in a way that's wrong, versus Adam just being super okay with it. Um, yeah, and really trying to square Adam being like, you know what, I actually believe the stories.
It's such
When
a
he
weird
doesn't,
flip.
he
Yeah.
doesn't believe him though. Um, but he just allows it, and like, I think it's interesting that like Charles says like he's got the papers, and then Adam just says, I won't look at the papers. No papers are match at all for my faith in my father. And it's like, you
Hmm.
don't even like this guy. like what,
Yeah.
where's all this faith
I
coming
think he
from?
just wants to piss. I think he just wants to piss Charles off. It's There's so much going on with why Adam's doing all these things.
I don't know. I just feel like because he like detached himself from his father, like nothing related to his father bothers him. Like it's not it's not like a core thing to him. Like,
Hmm.
so I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I feel about this whole conversation, but I can't quite land on it. Maybe by the end of the pod I'll have figured it out.
Okay.
But yeah. All right. Well, chapter 8, that's my chapter. This one is a doozy. So in this one, Steinbeck starts off um talking about monsters being born to human parents. And at least the very first sentence, he's talking about disabled people. And he's like, yeah, they got no arms, they got no legs. Some have three arms. He's like, they're accidents. And he does mention that there was a time where having a physical deformity like this was considered a visible punishment for concealed sins. And then he kind of likens that to like just how some people are born without an arm or without a leg or with some physical deformity. There are people um, born with uh, kind of an emotional or spiritual deformity, where on the inside they are monsters. They're born without whatever it is that's inside us that helps us be good people, or urges us to be good people, or you know. If I could just read his actual sentence, it says, "As a child may be born without an arm, one one may be born without kindness or the potential of conscience." So I don't know, like I feel like the scientific definition there is like a psychopath or a sociopath, like these people that
Yeah.
just don't look at the world the same way. But I feel like the way Steinbeck's kind of describing it, it's a little more normal than that. Like,
Hmm.
you feel like a psychopath or a sociopath, like those are kind of extreme cases. They're in CSI or
Yeah.
S SVU. What's that show with the dum 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 dum
The
dum?
80 versions of Law and Order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Law and Order. I couldn't think of Law and Order. Like, someone from Law and Order, like one of the bad guys from
Yeah,
Law and Order. That's a sociopath.
for
Um,
sure.
but I
I
think
do kind of
Steinbeck's
have
like just.
go for it.
Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say I do kind of have like a weird problem with what he's saying here. Just it comes immediately after we see Adam choosing to believe his father and choosing to
Mm-hmm.
let go of suspicions, almost choosing a new way to go about his life. And then he starts here saying some people are just born bad. Some people can't choose their way out of it. And so you almost felt like in chapter like this initial character arc of Adam that he's telling us of this ability to be able to choose our path. And then he
Mm-hmm.
says, but some people are doomed to just be horrible people.
That is interesting. Yeah, it is a little contradictory there, and I don't cherish the thought that there are people that are born with no shot at being a good person.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe there's some that in the battle of nature versus nurture, nurture has kind of the upper hand in kind of deciding what you're going to be like. People are products of their environment, but at least what
Yeah.
Steinbeck is laying down here, and what I suppose I'm going to take as fact for at least this book, is that some people are evil,
Yep.
and they're born that way according to him. And I don't know. I just think a bunch of the quotes from this very first page in the chapter are interesting. So it says, "To a monster, the norm must seem monstrous. Uh, to a man born without a conscience, a soul-stricken man must seem ridiculous. To a
Hmm.
criminal, honesty is foolish. You must not forget that a monster is only a variation, and that to a monster, the norm is monstrous." And it is interesting because, like, you know, Steinbeck, I'm assuming, doesn't see himself as a monster. So he's like, and these are people's inner thoughts. So he's like looking at what people are doing and being like, monster.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of interesting. I don't know. We might talk about it later.
Okay.
But then anyway, after that stirring introduction, we are introduced to Kathy Ames. Um, and this chapter is all about her growing up, and based on the preamble he gave her, you're supposed to kind of assume she's this soulless, conscienceless monster that he's talking about, and she's going to be kind of the archetype of this monster. Um, and so I don't know. I thought it was really interesting the way he described her. I kind of bracketed some of the odder descriptions. Like, some of the stuff he describes her as is quite normal. Like, he describes her as being blonde and beautiful, and he describes her small mouth, but he also says uh, she would have been burned as a witch for the good of the community. Uh, he said she had a child's figure even after she was grown, that she had tiny hands. Uh, they said before her puberty, her nipples were turned inward. Sir.
such
Um,
yeah, such a weird
that
fact.
that is evil manifest. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, you got to watch for that. Said her body was a boy's body. Ankles were thin and straight without being slender. Ankle slander for Kathy Ames here.
Hmm.
Her feet were small, round, and stubby. Tough description of feet. You never want stubby.
Yeah,
Um, and this is almost like little hoofs. Maybe the meanest thing you could say about feet. Um,
for sure.
said her voice was huskily soft, but there must have been some steel cord in her throat. I don't know, just a kind of a raspy voice, I guess, in a nice way. Um,
Yeah, it's so interesting because he says she's beautiful and unassuming and a monster, but also has these really weird qualities about her. So I wonder what Florence Pugh thought of when they said, "Hey, this is." I wonder if they gave her chapter 8 and said, "This is the character we want you to
this is
play
you.
in a limited
She,
series."
she's an actor. She probably read, "Oh, she's beautiful." No, Florence Pugh, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, I'm sure you're going to play this character with a lot of depth, um, and that you're taking it all very seriously, like you do all your roles.
Some a future
Um,
Golden Globes or Emmy name
exactly.
here. Yes.
Yeah, precisely. But anyway, but continuing with the description of Kathy Ames, because it's not done. It's like two and a half. It's like 2 pages of describing her, so that you get a
Hmm.
real good feel for this lady. Said she could enter no room without causing everyone to turn toward her. She made people uneasy. Men and women wanted to inspect her. So again, interesting traits.
Yeah.
Um, and then it kind of talks. Then we get a little more qualitative. It says it talks about how she liked to stand out from the other children. And this is just a sentence I thought was funny. It's describing how a lot of children like to fit in. It says, if necklaces of pork chops were accepted, it would be a sad child who could not wear pork chops.
Such a good line.
Fun visual there from Steinbeck. Don't That's never been a trend, so
I
that's
I
just
really
something
want to
he
know
cooked up.
what his throwaway descriptors were. If he's using pork chop necklaces.
Pork chop necklace. He's like, you know how there's trends like pork chop necklaces, and they're like, what? And
Yeah.
he's like, never mind, it's for a book. Um,
It's very Dr. Seussy,
but yeah, and
the
so it
pork
talks
chop
about how
necklace.
she never wanted to conform. Um, let's see. And then it talks about how she was a liar, uh, and it wasn't like a cute, fun children's lie where they're telling a weird story like that they played with a dragon at recess.
Hmm.
It was very real lying. Says um, here he gets into the difference between a lie and a story. He says, I think the difference between a lie and a story is that a story utilizes the trappings and appearance of truth for the interest of the listener as well as of the teller. A story has in it neither gain nor loss, but a lie is a device for profit or escape. Um, and then he does a little fourth wall break and he says, I suppose by that definition, a writer of stories is a liar if he is financially fortunate. So I don't know. That's him doing like a fourth wall break, like a Lemony Snicket
Yeah.
style. Like, oh,
It,
like I'm.
I wonder because by the time he's writing this, he's on his third wife, and I wonder if like
Yeah,
his first two called him a liar, and this was just like a little jab at him, like
he's like
I'm a liar, but at least I'm financially fortunate.
financially fortunate. And, look at me, I'm John Steinbeck. I wrote Grapes of Wrath. Your 10th grade
Yeah.
English teacher told you about me.
This
Um,
this paragraph I kind of brought up a little bit when we were talking about Cyrus, but it made me think of that when Cyrus maybe first started out, he was a storyteller because I think he
mhm,
just kind of wanted some respect from his friends, or he liked the way his friends reacted when he told them about his time in Gettysburg, and then I think it kind of evolved into lying. I think there's some gray area overlap with stories and lies. I don't think it can just be one or the other. And I think it definitely has the ability to evolve.
mhm. No, that's interesting. I didn't even think about Cyrus there. But definitely he's somewhere in that gray area.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then it talks about her two methods of lying, which if you pay attention are gonna come back in the next two chapters, where um, she would stay close enough to the truth that one could never be sure. One was, he says, she knew two other methods also. One was to interlard her lies with truth, or to
Hmm.
tell a truth as though it were a lie. If one is accused of a lie and it turns out to be the truth, there is a backlog that will last a long time to protect a number of untruths. Um, and that's one of those like you're kind of like really thinking ahead about a lie you want to tell in the future, so you tell some truths kind of like in a lie way, and
Hmm.
so that no one knows what to think. You're a total wild card.
It's
Um,
it's when Michael Scott figures out that Stanley's having an affair and then tells a bunch of other lies about everybody in the office so that they don't
he's
know
like,
which
who's spreading
lies
all
is
these
the real
rumors?
the truth is the real truth. Yeah.
There are false rumors being spread about all of us. No, that's good. Yes. That's exactly what it is. Um, let's see. But yeah, and then it kind of talks about um, her father and her mother, how how at least the father was a little uneasy around her. The mother she kind of had wrapped around her finger a little bit. Um, and then it talks about how she learned very early to kind of prey on people's weaknesses or impulses or desires,
Hmm.
specifically their sexuality. Um, and I like this little, just like a little exclamation that he does in the middle of the chapter. He says, "What freedom men and women could have were they not constantly tricked and trapped and enslaved and tortured by their sexuality." I'm like, that's a lot of and. He's like,
Hmm.
you could have left it at one of those things and it would have been a fine sentence. And he's like, no, all of these: tricked, trapped, enslaved,
Yep.
tortured, led astray, run amok, flat out deceived. Um, but yeah, so he lists all the bad things. Um,
Well, one thing real quick before moving on to the next section here after this is he notes here that it is quite possible that she did not believe in any other tendencies in humans. So Kathy can only see the bad in people because she is bad. I think it's something to worthwhile to note.
this is kind of it's kind of that's kind of another kind of notch in Steinbeck's beliefs about good and evil. Like
Hmm.
born that way, evil only sees evil. That's very black and white how he's painting it so far.
For sure.
Anyway, then he kind of launches into this specific story when Kathy is 10 years old, about how her mother uh, hears her hears giggling in their little barn or farm building that they have. and the mother bursts in and she sees Kathy on the floor, half naked, uh, between two boys. The mom kind of bursts in. The boys freak out. They run away. The mom is mad at Kathy, and then she goes over and Kathy's hands are tied.
Hmm.
Um, and so this starts a chain of events where, and Kathy refuses to say a word, doesn't say anything about what happened. The mother draws what I would imagine is a logical conclusion that those boys tied up her daughter and were going to rape her. And so this
Yeah.
leads, because she knows the boys' parents, this leads to those boys being punished, whipped, sent away to correction school, the trajectory of their lives altered forever. And the whole time the boys are adamant that they did not tie up Kathy's hands, that Kathy was
Hmm.
playing with the rope on her own and they didn't do it. And everyone's like, a 10-year-old girl tied up her own arms, like it, which would be hard to believe. Like
Hmm.
if I was a townsperson and they were like, these two 14-year-old boys were gonna rape this girl, and the boys were like, no, she told us we could, and then she tied up her own hands. I'd have been like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, right, dude. Let's get you on the whipping pole.
Yeah.
Um, so I can see why they didn't believe them. And it's interesting because Steinbeck does not say like, and Kathy was lying, but you know she
Right.
was. Like you just know because he
It's
told you what a monster she is. He laid out the situation, and you just understand like, yeah, Kathy tricked those boys. Like, and
it's
either
truly a
she knew she was,
masterclass.
yeah,
Yeah.
either she was just interested in turning tricks and getting paid to have sex at 10 years old, or she knew they were going to get caught and she devised this plan to get those boys punished. So one of the two,
Yeah.
neither good. Um,
Yeah. I would lean into the latter, I think. But
you
yeah, it's
you
just
think her
this.
plan was to get them punished
I think the plan was to
the
get
whole
them
time?
punished. I think
Because
so.
I could see a world where she just wanted to make a little money and she made this plan with the rope. Like, okay, if my mom bursts in, I'll pretend I was getting raped, and then I won't get in
Yeah.
trouble. Because like, there's
Yeah,
no
that's a good
guarantee the
point.
mom's gonna burst in, right?
I
I
well,
mean,
I think
maybe she.
one cue that she was wanting the mom to burst in is her mom hears giggling and recognizes Kathy doesn't giggle. So either she was giggling for the
Mm,
benefit of the boys, playing up the "I'm just a girl" type personality, or it was like a call for her mom to recognize something's weird.
interesting. But yeah, so maybe that was it. Maybe she just kind of master planned like one of those boys out of town. Um, but anyway, then it kind of talks about everyone kind of buys it, and then she's kind of shaken up, quotation air quotes for the people on audio. Um, but then she eventually moves on, and um, kind of a few years pass. It mentions that her father's a little bit onto it, that
Yeah.
he has he has these like kind of premonitions or this feeling that something's a little off, but he doesn't act on it. Um, it talks about her moving on to high school, and continuing to get educated and doing very well, blending in as it were. And then we're introduced to this character, James Grew, who I wrote down on my little character sheet. I was like, all right, new guy, James Grew. Well, I probably didn't need to do that because he was dead by the very next page.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think is interesting is that we're clearly to understand that Kathy had something to do with this man dying, and we have no idea what it is. Just that for a while, it says that he was doing very well. This is a flame leaped in James Grew. Some force glowed in his eyes. He had become a man, and then very suddenly the flame went out and his shoulders folded, his eyes grew feverish. So something that Kathy was doing, we don't know. I doubt we're gonna know ever. She built this man up and then she tore him down uh to the point where he does kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
Which is unfortunate. And she
And yeah.
and she kind of creates the cover for it too with this effortless lie where where like the mom's like, "Oh, did you know anything with him?" And she kind of creates it like that. Oh, he had some money troubles in Boston, like,
Mm-hmm.
and then her mom obviously spreads that, and then pretty soon that the whole town knows, like, oh, he killed himself because he had some problems in Boston. and Kathy's tracks are covered. No one ever saw her with him. But again, it wouldn't even be in the book if she wasn't responsible for that.
for sure.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so
with the
that
James
was
Grew
interesting.
story, it's I think that she somehow got James to show up on their front step at night. I think she really wanted her dad to feel at fault for James's suicide somehow. Again, I'm just inferring because I'm just taking that she was smiling at the kitchen table the next morning, and just what we know with how she treats Mr. Edwards later on. I think that if she can knock out two birds with one stone, she will. If she can get James to be into her, and then he blows out his candle, and then to have her dad think maybe I should have talked to him last night more.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just gravy on top that she wasn't expecting to witness her dad feel distraught over it. But I
I
don't know.
like that
Steinbeck,
the dad lies about it too. Like the
yeah,
mom's like, was it him on the door? And the dad's like, no, like it was
yep,
some guy with a beard. And like the daughter's just like, all right, dad, like sure thing.
yeah,
Um, it is interesting. I thought that was like a last ditched effort by James Grew to like, because again, you don't really know what she did to him, but like maybe she was blackmailing him. I don't know what she had done. That was like a
hmm,
last ditch effort for him to warn them that their daughter was a monster, that she was doing something to him, and it just didn't really work out.
yeah,
Because that adds a variable. Like if she had planned that, that's a lot of variables. Like she has to know that her dad would send him away. Like because if she reads her dad wrong, then James Grew comes in and starts telling stories about her,
yeah,
and then she's got to deal with her dad. And even if you're evil, at 15, evil teenage daughter is going to lose in a battle to her grown dad
most of
in
the
the
time,
1890s, with how things were kind of rolling back then.
yeah.
So I think that was James Grew's like last gasp at life, and then didn't work. He's gone. So um, and then last little bit of the chapter here. This is where it gets sick and twisted.
Hmm.
Um, but so she decides after a little while, soon after her 16th birthday, she doesn't want to go to school anymore. Um, she declares she's not going to go. Uh, she argues with her mom. The mom brings in the dad. The dad does, he's angry. He kind of puts on a front. Like you can tell he wasn't like a slap around his daughter his whole life kind of guy. Like he had he'd been kind of gentle. Like it's unnatural for him to get in there and be forceful with her.
Right.
But he does his best, and then he thinks he he threatens to beat her for real. Um, and she says all right, and so he thinks that he's done it, and then she the next day she leaves, not for school. She gets on the train and takes off for Boston, and he runs her down and gets her. Again, kind of funny that like it just says he got on the train, and then the next thing you know, he's beating her in her room.
Hmm.
It's like we don't get the story of how he found her. Like
Yeah.
we don't know. We don't know
He
how
just
he did
has
it.
connections. Yeah.
Yeah, it says he's good in a crisis, and he hunted his daughter down like Liam Neeson.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
It is so funny that Steinbeck will be so deliberate and long-winded with some descriptions of scenes, and then with this one, it feels like it has a lot of action to it. He just goes
he's
up to
like
Boston and finds her.
he's like he went to Boston and found her in Boston. He just
Yeah,
went to Boston and took a gander, and
it's
there
a
she
small city in
was.
the '90s, in the
It's a small
1890s.
city. Yeah, back in the 90s. But yeah, and so then he brings her back from Boston. He beats her for real with the whip, and he's not good at it. He's using a
Nope.
buggy whip, which I've never whipped a child. But I don't think a buggy whip. I think you're supposed to have a specialized kind of child whip, if I'm thinking of this right. Like, I don't think you're
I don't
supposed
know.
to have multi-purpose whips. You think so? You think buggy whip is how you would have done it?
I mean, I don't even know what a buggy whip is.
Oh, it's
I
like
know.
you're in like a little buggy and like you're got a horse in front of you and getting the horse to go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I just don't think he was planning on ever having to do this.
I don't
And
think he was
so,
either. I think that's what it's
yeah,
showing us. Like, like he
yeah.
wasn't a real beater. Uh, a real girl beater would have had his own girl beating whip, and he just didn't
Hmm.
have it. Um, anyway, so she kind of realizes that he's not doing well at this and pretends that he's really hurting her, even though he's not really successfully delivering the beatdown he thinks he is. Um, and so she gets him to stop before he really hurts her. Um, so he stops, and he thinks once again, he's like, "I did it. I delivered the discipline, Dad of the Year with his buggy whip." And so then for a time, she's pretty normal. She fakes it for a while. She's looking good. She's going to school. She's doing everything right. Um, she's taking an interest in his business. She gets him to show her how to do the books, how to open the safe.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
read that
he.
safe line, and you're like, oh no.
I heard the safe line too, and it was like she learned how to open the safe, and he was so proud of her, and I was like, she is taking everything in that safe,
Yeah.
brother. You better believe it. That money is as good as gone, Mr. Ames. Um, anyway, and then you can tell she's got a little bit of planning going on because there's a whole deal of like she hears that the payroll's coming into the business. Her parents are going to be busy. She kind of gets this jar. She gets some blood. She gets a flame going. 3 o'clock in the morning. Boom! The house is on fire. The house burns down. They find Mr. and Mrs. Ames's corpses burned inside the house. Um, and then they do some searching around. There's some funny business. The people inspecting it, they're like, "Oh, it looks like the doors were locked. Like there's no keys in
Hmm.
the lock. Like they couldn't have gotten out." And again, they kind of dismissed it. They're like, in a fire, who knows? Jet fuel can melt steel beams.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of looking around, and uh they find that their tannering business was broken into. Safe was stolen, and then they find the fake murder scene that Kathy created with the blood and her maybe some hair and like a a bow. So there's a sign. Um, and of course, like they're buying into this, but you kind of know because she's the monster that
Hmm.
she planned this all out. She burned her parents alive. She took their money. She faked her own death. Um, and then I think it's funny because it's pretty unnecessary this next part, but it does go into some detail about how they tried to frame a homeless man for this.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, all right, like once again, like no description of Kathy's father finding her in Boston. We get dialogue from the court of them trying to um
Frame this
convict this
hobo.
homeless man, frame this hobo for murder. Um, I do think it's interesting. I think Steinbeck just kind of wanted to like after writing about so much evil, just wanted to kind of like inject a good person into this chapter because
Hmm.
he does it with this judge who, um, I think is pretty much the platonic ideal of what a judge is. A man who
Yeah.
became a judge, whose love for the law and for its intention of promoting justice has the quality of love for a woman. What a description!
Hmm.
And he sees through their fake conviction, and he kind of snaps at the police. He says, "No, look here, Mike, you shouldn't do a thing like that. If that poor fellow had been a little smarter, you might have gotten him hanged."
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so the judge saves the homeless man, so there wasn't another innocent man that died because of Kathy. Um, and then it kind of describes the people just kind of moving on a little bit. They kind of just all right, like
They forget about it.
at first there's like this real rage to pin this on someone, and then once they can't, they're just like, oh well, like nevertheless.
Hmm.
And that's chapter 8.
That's chapter 8. So, just to kind of go off what you were noting about the homeless guy and how it just kind of is such an interesting tone shift, is in his journal of a novel. There's this line where he says, "Now, because Kathy's story is so unusual, I must tell it with the greatest casualness, as though there was nothing unusual about it." So I think he's interjecting these stories to try to make it seem less bizarre. Like, we're trying to see it as, because Kathy's a monster, to her she's normal. Let's tell this chapter as if it was something normal.
Yeah, because it's so interesting because just throughout it, like at no point does he say Kathy is doing these things. Like, you could view it as someone telling you, if he didn't lead with like all the stuff about being evil, you could read it as like, man, this girl Kathy had this really rough life and
Yeah.
and died.
Yep.
And so, um, but you do know because he gave you that lead in that like she's really orchestrating all this evil.
Hmm.
And she does not care who gets hurt in the process. Like,
Yeah.
so, which I suppose we will see more of.
We'll see more of even in chapter 9 here.
Hmm.
So chapter 9 starts and new character alert, Mr. Edwards, and he is the whoremaster. He runs, it sounds like he runs the same sort of businesses that Charles likes to frequent, rural areas, quick girl turnover, the New England area. And in
Well,
the
he
in
he
eight
had been he had been mentioned before, hadn't he? Hadn't they
was
mentioned
he?
Edwards? I think his
Did
name
they?
had come up because it like you mentioned it's the girls that Charles. It's the exact girls. I'm pretty sure. Like it's.
Yeah.
I think that's his business. I think they name dropped him
Okay.
earlier.
I don't
Could be
remember,
wrong.
but very has potential. Either way, it's kind of making us think, okay, this is possibly bridging the stories here with Mr.
Yep.
Edwards. And in the 1890s, while vagrancy is having the time of its life, the biggest moment it could possibly have, whorehouses as institutions are dying out. Vagrancy on the rise, whorehouses plummeting. And it could just be
Just think of
because,
the Apex Mountain for vagrancy, Nadir Canyon for how's is vagrancy having a moment?
yeah. And I
That's
think it's
our
funny.
first Bill Simmons impersonation.
I was wondering
It's
when it
a
would
top
happen.
seven vagrancy moment of all time.
Um, I thought it was interesting that Steinbeck puts in that the reason whorehouses are on their way out is because people are starting to catch on to human trafficking. So I thought that was an interesting note. But Mr. Edwards, definitely a businessman. He's got his rules for recruiting sex workers. They can't be too smart and they can't be too pretty. If they're too pretty, people fall in love with her. Can't have that. And one afternoon, he's out recruiting because he needs to rebuild 3 of his units from the ground up. One of them was converted to religion, and so they left the sex working business. And 2 units were killed in a train accident. So he has a lot of women to go find. In comes Kathy, and she has changed her name to Catherine Amesbury, which is the worst new identity she could have chosen. It is not, it's basically the same name.
Yeah, good, nice one, Catherine.
Yeah.
How long did you spend on that?
And Mr.
Anyway.
Edwards immediately has the hots for Catherine. Uh, he notes this alluring magic that Kathy possesses, and he wants her all to himself. He employs her, but just for him. And Kathy's using the
Hmm.
story that she just wants to go into this line of work to help her widow mother pay off some debts. And throughout a few paragraphs, he starts to really fall even harder for Kathy. He's buying her luxury goods. He gets her a charming little brick house where she can live in. Mrs. Edwards, his wife, at home, starts to notice a personality change in him. He's getting more restless and snappish. He's getting physically ill. And I like this physical decay paralleling his moral decay through this association with Kathy. I'm
That's what
wondering
a
if
nasty woman will do to you.
yeah, and I'm
Make you
wondering too if it's
physically
almost
ill.
like because I read Dracula at the end of last year, and when vampires are sucking on you, like vampires are in Bram Stoker's Dracula, they're sexy, they're sensual beings, and they drain you, and to keep using you to go back to you. And Kathy's kind of presented as this sensual villain, and he's getting drained. I can't remember
Probably,
when Dracula was written, but it feels kind of vampiric in its the way it's described. Anyways, a little
she's
off
probably
topic.
sucking on him.
Yeah. So, despite not cheating on Mr. Edwards, because he's so worried of her cheating on him, she still keeps him off balance and questioning things. And it was kind of going back to what you were saying earlier of listen to what she's learning here, because this is what she's going to put into practice. Now she's really putting it into practice with Mr. Edwards. He really wants to buy her loyalty. And the way that she gets into it is she just is always pretending she's just a tad bit dissatisfied with him. never quite keeping her satisfied enough. If he shows up to her little brick house, she pretends like she's about to go out somewhere or she just gotten back and she's glowing from doing something amazing. She's making the truth sound like lies, like we were talking about earlier. And this drives Mr. Edwards to a mental pulp that makes him so willing to let Kathy do whatever she wants to him that she's just flat out stealing from him from his pockets. And he doesn't even care. It's the ultimate long game. It reminded me a lot of the patience that Adam has making his way from the prison to the train station, just making sure he gets everything right because he doesn't want to lose it. Yeah, very much like boiling a frog for how she gets Mr. Edwards to just succumb to her completely. Eventually,
Yeah,
she
he
even changes
gets.
the yeah.
I was just say he gets totally dominated, like just worked over, and it is. I don't, I don't feel much sympathy for him. His nickname, his work title was the Whore Master.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't imagine that involved him respecting very many women. And so, fun role reversal for her to just be working him over so thoroughly.
Totally.
And you were about to mention her changing the locks and being like,
Yep.
"I'll get you a new key," and then not doing it. It's like,
Yeah.
man, you're getting owned, brother. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, but just I was
No,
enjoying this part of her
it
evil
was
plan.
great
I was like,
watching it.
get him. Anyway,
Yeah. Let's see here. This quote do I want to read? Yeah, page 95. A man so painfully in love is capable of self-torture beyond belief. So he's so in love that he's just torturing himself over it. But eventually, he wants to learn the truth about her, and this kind of kicks into another what seems like it should be explained in more detail, and it's not. He has a coworker find the money that she's stolen from him using quote a complicated set of mirrors to figure out exactly where the briefcase with the money is located. I would have loved to have
who
learned
knows?
more about that.
What mirrors are these that you're
Yeah,
doing? Like,
a complicated set of mirrors is crazy.
that can't be the easiest way. Is that like a weird way to say a telescope? Like, what?
Yeah,
Or like a periscope? Like he was like in a tunnel, like doing.
yeah, maybe like
What do you mean a complicated set of mirrors?
we need to have the complicated set of mirrors scene in the show, just because I really want to see
I
that.
gotta have it. Yeah.
So he learns now that he already knew it, but I guess that her storing the money is kind of was what I'm setting him over the edge. And so he gets this great idea that if we get some drink in her, it'll loosen her tongue up a bit. And he is definitely right. Kathy's been avoiding alcohol.
Well,
It's basically
I think
her. Yeah,
you flipped the order on these. He gets her drunk first, and then
does.
it's the mirrors. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I did get that mixed up. So he gets her drunk first because he wants to get the truth out of her. And so he gets her drunk, and alcohol proves to be a kryptonite for her. She's been avoiding it.
Hmm.
He demands that she drinks it, and she definitely has a very serious problem with alcohol because it makes her verbally abusive, and she just can't control herself. She's drinking more and more. Calls Edwards a slug, berates him, and then like does the thing where you slam your empty bottle on a ledge and then like jab somebody with the edges and slices his face with it. And he just has to run and leave, and she's just sitting there laughing. And this is what causes him to get the complicated set of mirrors to go
Yeah,
find out about
yeah.
the money.
Because I feel like this where he gets her drunk is a kind of a turning point for him because reading how she's manipulating him, like I think she does always leave it with like the idea that she is innocent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she never when she's tricking him, even though he knows he's being tricked, even though he knows she's lying to him, and like a part of him is aware that she's stealing from him. Like she never admits it or admits that she has this darkness. Like
Mm-hmm.
her her facade that she's this innocent girl who just needs some money is always up at the end of the day. And so even though he sees all this evidence to the contrary, he can't bring himself to believe that she isn't that innocent girl. And then when she gets drunk and says that she was turning tricks with sailors as a child,
Hmm.
um, and then smashes the bottle and pokes it with him, I think that kind of sends him over the edge where he's like, I need to get a complicated set of mirrors and figure out where this money is. So
Yeah.
that is like a big turning point because she's got him hook, line, and sinker until she gets drunk like this. So,
Yeah.
but anyway,
No,
go
great,
ahead.
great call out. Yeah, the order is important there. So after this complicated set of mirrors and the money, he basically says, "Hey," he doesn't say basically, "Hey." He comes in guns ablazing to her house and says, "You're going to
Hmm.
actually work now for a living. You're going to work in Connecticut." Oh, who's in Connecticut that we know?
I
Any
don't
people?
know. ESPN. Just
Two men and
kidding.
one of
You're
them that
gonna
can't
work
get
with
over a
Jamel
knife.
Hill.
Yeah.
Um, get ready to learn Stephen A. Smith. Um, no, this game. This was 19. This is 1890. He's gonna make her. He's gonna make her. When he said Connecticut, I was like, he's putting her in that hotel in Adam and Charles's neighborhood, and they're going out tonight.
Yeah, it's what it feels
Um,
like. Except
it did feel like that was coming.
So she acquiesces, which is a little bit unnatural for her. She reluctantly goes, just thinking I'll just work up another long con. Um, and she's like, I have a knife that'll protect me. And he grabs that knife and throws it out the window. And then just like on the way there in the forest, he just starts to beat her. Starts with a whip, then goes to his fists, and then he sees a nearby stone and like bashes her head in with it. Steinbeck wrote in his journal of a novel he wanted this to be a scene of pure violence, and I think it is very violent because he thinks he's killed her, and he kind of uses this as like I'm gonna wash my hands of this. I'm never falling in love again. I'm swearing off women, and he drives off. But Kathy, lo and behold, is not dead, and she's able to get up and wander onto a piece of property nearby. Dun 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 dun. Steinbeck had said that he wanted to make this introduction of Kathy have a suggestive deadliness about it, wanted to keep it extremely low pitch and to let the reader furnish the emotion. And I think that he nailed that. And he was saying that before he wrote it. Like he was sitting down and saying, this is how I want to go about these scenes. I think he did a fantastic job because there is that suggestive deadliness. It is low pitch and casual that just makes it all the more eerie. And I have no clue how Netflix will adapt this in any way that is comparable to how masterfully it's written in chapters 8 and 9.
Excellent. Well, I think after reading these chapters, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the show starts in chapter 8 and they're just like this story is driven by Kathy Ames. Um
Mm-hmm.
I don't I think she seems like an important enough character that I wouldn't wait until episode 2 or 3 to introduce her. I'd want her in the show
Yeah,
immediately. So,
I mean, Florence Pugh,
um
she's the star.
she's exactly, yeah. I don't know who else is cast in this.
So Charles, I forget his name, but Adam is Michael Faced from Challengers. He's
Okay.
yeah, he's Zendaya's husband in Challengers.
Yeah, the blonde one, right?
Yep.
I didn't
So
see
that's
Challenger. No.
very good movie. So that's him, and then Adam. I mean, Charles is a little bit lesser known of an actor, but I've seen him, but I can't remember him right off the top of my head.
No one else quite as big though.
Florence Pugh is definitely the biggest.
He's the biggest. The big, the big. Yeah. So I could see the show starting with a young Kathy Ames
Hmm.
being monstrous. Wouldn't be surprised at all. But we're not to our adaptation notes yet. We are on the takes.
Nate's takes.
Um, yeah. So I'll lead off. So we decided we're going to do this a little different because episode 1, a little clunky with the takes because I shared them all while we were recapping. Couldn't keep it to myself. Full time professional yapper. Um, but this time I saved one. I saved one. Actually, I saved a couple.
Okay.
Um, I told you which one I was gonna do. I lied. Call me Kathy Ames the way I was lying to you about what my take was. Okay, so Nate's take. I was really interested, and we didn't talk about it too much when we talked over the chapter, so I'm glad to revisit this. Um, some of the lessons that Adam learns while he's a vagabond, or as he calls it, a bindlestiff, and kind of just blowing about the country. Um, I really liked the sentence where it talks about how he developed a love for poor people that he could not have conceived if he had not been poor himself. And in this part of the book, he's traveling around the country. He's in groups of vagabonds. He's traveling with groups of men. Um, he's seeing the violence against groups of people, so he kind of strikes out on his own. He stays with a widow here. He works for people there. He's down in Texas with Hispanic people. He's in the South with black people, and I just thought it was an interesting sentence. A love for poor people he could not have conceived if he had not been poor himself. Um, and I think it's interesting to think about um him gaining this perspective because it's not like he was super wealthy on the farm. Like I think if he had lived his whole life on the farm the way Charles had, I doubt Charles feels himself too far above most poor people,
Hmm.
although he is self-sufficient. But I think it's interesting for a person to gain this perspective of what it's like to be poor and the unique hardships that are related to being either homeless or, you know, not really owning anything, being transient, moving around, um, and, just kind of appreciating what this life is like. He talks about how, um, let me see the next part. He said he uh, he learned that when people are very poor, they still have something to give and the impulse to give it. And so like there's this generosity between people that are all struggling, where they band together. And I just think it's unique. I think there's a lot of people in the world then, in the world now, that view being poor almost the way Steinbeck describes being a monster. It's like something you're born with, and these people deserve it,
Hmm.
and um, that there's something deficient with them, um, and that if they would work harder, that they could get out of it. And I think Adam kind of travels the country and sees that there are good people, there are bad people, there are like he's by the campfires listening to people talk philosophy and people discuss literature, and he's talking to defrocked priests and all these different people that have come from different walks of life. um and so I don't know, I just think it's an interesting thing kind of knitted into the book, this appreciation for poor people. um and I guess Steinbeck did also write some pretty important stuff about immigrants in some of his other works, and so I think it's nice that it's in here too.
Nice. Yeah, great take. The people with the least give the most. And I think that, yeah, calling back on his time wandering around with all these people, I think it sheds a little bit of light as to why he was so quick to just believe his father. I think there's a little bit of philosophy or love that he learned from all these other people made it easier for him to just let it go,
Yeah, yeah, some perspective.
for sure. Nice.
Anyway, your turn. Let's hear the Ethan take. Your name doesn't rhyme with takes, so it's harder
Yeah, I
to make
was
it catchy.
thinking east of Ethan can be this
Oh, the
segment.
East of Ethan. Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, my east of Ethan today is from chapter 7, page 69 in the Centennial Edition. It's when Adam is realizing that he's just going to believe Cyrus and not think that he had lied to steal the money. And he says, maybe that's the reason, Adam said slowly, feeling his way. Maybe if I had loved him, I would have been jealous of him. You were. Maybe love makes you suspicious and doubting. It is true that when you love a woman, you are never sure of her because you aren't sure of yourself. I can see it pretty clearly. I can see how you loved him and what it did to you. I did not love him. Maybe he loved me. He tested me and hurt me and punished me, and finally he sent me out like a sacrifice, maybe to make up for something. but he did not love you, and so he had faith in you. Maybe, why, maybe it's kind of a reverse. What I was thinking, what I took away from this was there's this paradoxical nature of love and trust. And when normally love and trust go hand in hand. But I think Steinbeck is kind of challenging that idea, maybe not romantic love, but maybe more familiar love. And so I think the argument is sort of twofold. The first one that I think Steinbeck and Adam might be getting at here is that love is actually able to erode trust and faith. And I was thinking of when people love someone really strongly, you really want things from them. You're more forgiving of flaws or shortcomings. And that leads you to start expecting them to put you first. And then if those expectations are not met, doubt, suspicions, maybe resentment creep in. And those are all opposite of faith and trust. And this Charles, he loved Cyrus so much that he couldn't see any of these negative qualities in Cyrus and him. So when this piece of information comes out about him lying, it just destroys him. Love can kind of blind you to these things. Where on the flip side, Adam, he's not loving Cyrus. And so that leaves room for this pure trust and faith in him because there's no expectations. I think you were hitting on this earlier, Nate. There's no expectations or relationship to really get in the way. And so it's easier for him to believe that Cyrus is more of an honest man. And I think it's this lack of love that lets him believe that. But where do I think that Steinbeck is mistaken is that I think trust and love go hand in hand a lot more than they fight against each other. Adam has definitely changed since we first met him, and he's able to use all of his experiences to believe in something better than all this pain he's carried of being punished by his dad. And so he wants to believe his dad is telling the truth instead of being a liar. And I'm calling this redemptive self-deception.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I feel like you hit on a lot of good stuff there, and I like how you titled it redemptive self-deception. Um, what kind of came to me, and when we were talking about this chapter, about an hour ago now, um, I probably equivocated on these points a whole bunch, but I think what it comes down to is Adam just kind of, it's like an acceptance, and he just kind of lets go of, it's what you said, right? He
Mm-hmm.
lets go of all the hurt that his father inflicted on him, and he just accepts who his father was, and he chooses instead instead of holding on to all the hurt, to just accept the lies, to self-deceive, and he's just
Yeah,
like, nope, it was great actually, and I feel awesome because of this.
yeah. I'm sure the
And
money's a
you're
sweetener for sure. Maybe if there was no money.
yeah, yeah, $4 million to think things are great, I'll do it.
Yeah.
um but yeah, so that's a good one. All
Okay.
right.
Netflix adaptation. We were kind of premature about it, but the only thing that I could really think of was, yeah, I do think that they need to start out with Kathy. Or if they want to, they could kind of juxtapose scenes of Kathy and Adam and Charles and the Hamiltons, but that might just be too much in like a single.
It does feel like a lot to do.
But
um
I think
I
that
think
the
I
I think
think
the
I
only
think
scene
the
they
most,
need.
yeah,
Oh, I was just
go
gonna say I
ahead.
think the main scene that they need of Kathy is probably the James Drew story and her like smirking at the table, and then definitely her like killing her family. I think that those set it up fine.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely need her killing her family. I mean, that if they don't have that, then what's the show even about?
Yeah.
Um, and then I think we are gonna get her. I think it's gonna be that scene where she gets beat up by Mr. Edwards is gonna be uh that's gonna be big time. That's gonna be
Hmm.
where they're trying to win some sort of award. Um, I'll be
Yeah.
interested to
That
see how much they have him mess her up. Like,
for
um,
sure.
it's looked it 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 read bad when I read the passage
Yeah.
about how much I was like, oh, like you can't even see it. I mean, I have a visual kind of mind. It's like I'm picturing what I'm reading, but like,
Hmm.
it's not like he goes into super great detail about how he's beaten on her, but like it's like there's fists and then a rock, and then like,
Hmm.
and you're just like, man, like he didn't let her off easy, and he thinks he killed her. I mean, that's how the
Yeah.
chapter ends. That he goes home and he's like, man, I had to kill that lady.
Hmm.
Like, but he didn't. For a second there, I thought he did even, because I was like, wow, is that it? Like, um, like wow, quick, hello, goodbye to Kathy Ames. But
Yeah,
no, she's still around.
yeah. Will this just be an anthology series of people at the turn of the century? Yeah,
Yeah, it could be like, yeah, 2 chapters here, 2 chapters there. You get them.
yeah, yeah. I
But
think
yeah, we're
that'll be like
definitely.
the end of episode one. It will just be like her crawling towards what looks in the distance like potentially Charles and Adam's property. Roll credits.
Yeah, maybe the way it works is we'll get her story first because her story is gripping much more so than the other ones. Like it's like little girl, fake rape, gets this boyfriend to kill himself, kill her parents. That's like half of the first episode,
Hmm.
and it's like that's
Yeah.
that's insane. And then you
No
have
Hamiltons are needed in episode one.
yeah, yeah. Then you have her works her way in with the horror master, and then the beatdown. End of episode one. Episode two begins. Story of Adam and Charles. Episode two ends with them. I mean, we haven't read this yet, but I'm assuming they find her. Um, like so
That'd be crazy if
that
they
is
didn't.
just that yeah. If she's just on someone else's farm. Like
Hmm.
yeah, like, Connecticut's a big enough state. It was a different. It wasn't their plows. Like
Yeah,
it's fine. Um, but yeah, that's like yeah. Episode two can be Adam and Charles' story.
yeah. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they got one of the challengers guys to play Adam.
To play Adam, I think
Why
he'll
not
be
get the
pretty
other
good at that.
challengers guy to play Charles? Why just
If only, right?
it
And Zendaya
it
could be
worked.
Kathy Ames.
We're running it back. We're doing challengers again.
Yeah.
Um, have you
This
have you
is
seen
East of
those
Eden by
memes where
Luca
people
Guadagnino.
yeah have you seen those memes where people will like describe like we'll say like the next Marvel movie should be starring Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe and it should be set in the 1970s and it should be called Nice Guys 2 and like that's like yeah East of Eden it's starring Zendaya, Mike Fast, the other rodent face guy and it's called it's called East of Eden the Challengers like um
Challenging
yeah but
Eden.
anyway
Yeah.
challenging Eden yeah so
So
but yeah
I haven't seen the
that's
East of Eden movie that came out in the 50s, but
we'll have
from
to
what
do
I've
we'll have to do a watch pod a rewatch
we
pod
will we'll have to do a watch pod. From
we'll
what
have to
I've
call it
heard,
like
this is almost like not even in it. This stuff. So we'll see.
really
Yeah. It's
what's
like an
what
80-minute movie.
okay
So,
okay.
anyways. Okay, Steinbeck Stats, I guess to wrap up.
Mm, go off
So, I was thinking that we could take this section of Steinbeck Stats to talk a little bit about why we're called pig-headed and well-read. So, it is actually paying homage to Mr. John Steinbeck himself. And Steinbeck had, for our video people, he has a logo called the Pegasus. It's basically a pig with wings, standard pig flying, with a Latin logo Ad Astra per alia porci, which stands for "To the stars on the wings of a pig." And the reason that he brought this
Paralia
about,
Porky that was my nickname in high
per
school I'm
alia
sorry
porci, yeah.
um Paralia Porky they called me Paralia Porky or PP
Oh, not a bad name.
mm,
So Steinbeck, this was
PP
sort
boy
of how he saw himself, was this pig with wings. He calls it earthbound but aspiring. And his wife Elaine says he used this logo to capture the spirit of a man trying to reach the heavens with humble tools. Because even a pig with enough imagination can fly. And there's a story that isn't super verified, but it was one of his writing professors told him, "You'll become a writer when pigs fly." And so when he does become a writer, he uses that as motivation. But I guess he got his Latin wrong. I think that it's said that the correct translation should have been ad astra per alas porci, but he says ad astra per alia porci. So maybe his professor got the last laugh because he got the
well
Latin wrong.
he wasn't a Latin writer he wasn't a Latin writer
Yeah, he's not
yeah
writing East in Latin.
the whole book's in English except for the logo. So
Yeah.
all good, Johnny boy.
So that's a little bit about Steinbeck, and we just kind of took that for our logo. It's a pig with wings reading a book, and call it pig-headed and well-read. Neither of us is pig-headed. It's not like we're a comedy duo of pig-headed and well-read. It's just people who are trying to reach for the stars with this humble imagination of what books can do for you.
If we were a duo, though, Ethan would definitely be pig-headed. You could probably gather from how much he's talked about stuff not related to the book. Um,
Well, I mean, you're
um,
also a Commanders fan, and Commanders are known for pig mascots, so it could be
that's
there.
true, yeah. Manders.
So yeah,
Good stuff. All right. What's left on the docket here? The
just your
predictions, is that it?
predictions. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my predictions last time, I was a little aggressive. It just felt like less time I passed. Like in the first 50 pages, we got like it felt like there was more in the first 50 pages than in these last 50 pages. These 50 pages were much more specific.
Hmm.
Um, so I previously had predicted that Adam would go home and kill Charles, and that something would happen with the Hamiltons. We didn't even hear a word about the Hamiltons in these last three chapters. So I'm going to maintain my. I know. Let me think about this. Do I want to maintain that Adam kills Charles? I'm going to go with yes, but it's related to Kathy. I think
Okay.
Kathy is going to get in Charles's ear about that knife. They're going to be like taking care of her, and
Mm.
she's gonna realize that they have $4 million, and she's gonna want it for herself. And so she's gonna pick out Charles as the dumber of the two and get in his head and convince him that um, Adam's trying to steal the money and
Hmm.
that he needs to kill Adam. And so he's gonna try to kill Adam. Adam's gonna kill him, and then in his shame, run to California. I don't even know if he gets the money. I'm gonna go doesn't even get the money. Like just takes off.
Wow. Okay.
Um, Vagabond style.
And he takes off
Catherine
with
somehow
or
gets.
without Kathy. You're saying
I'm
Kathy
gonna
gets the
say
money.
I'm gonna say Kathy stays and gets the money. Um, but then how's she gonna end up out west? Because I'm assuming she has to be in the rest of the book. We haven't even gotten to the Salinas Valley. So what? Okay. Maybe Kathy marries Charles,
Okay.
so she feels like it's her. She's entitled to it. Adam kills Charles when Charles attacks him. Leaves with all the money. Takes the money and leaves. She goes after him for the money, and that's how they both end up in the Salinas Valley. That's where I'm going. Boom,
Okay.
lock it in.
I like it. Locked in.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Powers of perception. The knife is definitely playing a role. You don't tell us that the knife is in a drawer in the house unless
Yeah.
someone's getting stabbed with that knife.
Good point. Yeah. I mean, you don't put a gun on screen in a movie without that gun going off.
Exactly. Yes, I've never written a classic novel, but I know this about knives that they've talked
Hmm.
about for several chapters now. It's not going away.
Yeah. All right. I like it. Okay. So we're a sixth of the way through. Never would I have thought that I would have been discussing classic literature on the internet with my friend for 80, 100-minute segments.
Exactly, yeah. I never would have thought I could focus on one thing quite this long.
Yeah.
So this is healing my mind. Um, yeah, you're doing this. You deserve all the credit. You're like a doctor for my stupid brain. Um, I'm gonna write a book about you once I'm fully recovered.
Thanks.
Um, but yeah, well, I think we'll call it there.
Okay.
Everyone have a good week, and remember just to never fly uphill, me boys.